where things stand. Diane, would you like to walk us through this, or?
Sure. Our normal annual rhythm happens during the budget process, and then we lay out all of the investments and projects that we're going to be working on throughout the year. So you see much of that happen through the rolling calendar. But there are some significant ownership things that we had been working on and we're still going to bring forward to the board. It's our diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. The team's currently working on a roadmap, and if Mark Jockers, if you're more interested, he could talk about how we're creating this. It's an ongoing program, but it's really, they're focusing on the years 1 through 5. And so we're right now in the middle of executive briefings with all of the partners in the region. We just got one done today with Janabel, and so we're getting really good input from folks as we begin this area and program. So Mark, did you have anything to add on that?
Not a whole lot more. I think that covers it pretty well. We are looking at kind of a 2-track process about the executive learning piece as well as the employee part of it, and doing a lot of the, this first year is really about data gathering for us, both a self-assessment by our executive team and our employees, but also looking at data related to current demographics of the organization.
We're also looking at creating a rhythm with the board where we go from the budget to WEFTech, and we do some learning there, and then we would bring back in the spring our roadmaps that are associated with the strategic plan and update the board and get input, and then we go back into the budget process. So we're going to work on that cycle. So if you look at your schedule, we're starting to put some placeholders where we would do another retreat with Clean Water Services. The Tualatin Dam Safety and Water Supply Project continues to be a very significant piece of our work. We're going to be having a update and economic analysis. So we're very concerned about what a reservoir restriction would do to this region. So we're doing the upfront economic analysis work on that to be able to present to the board and to be able to inform the work that we're doing with the Bureau. Our current science group has done a full-blown water quality model on the Tualatin River, which is something that the district had not had in the past. So we'll be bringing that forward because it will help inform the decisions on the project that we can invest in and what our options are besides the financial feasibility. And then going into 2021, I haven't teed this yet up on your agenda, but we're looking at some alternative ways to deliver the additional capacity that we need in digestion at Rock Creek, Durham, and Forest Grove. And so we let out a request for information, so an RFI, to look at alternative technologies that could deliver results that are even beyond just digestion capacity. It's looking to partner with private entities that bring advanced technology that can process solids as well as to create energy. So it'll be interesting to see who the potential interested parties are. So if there looks to be something viable, then we'll be bringing that through the board process. But this could be definitely a game changer. It involves selling of renewable natural gas. It could be bringing in additional feedstocks, such as liquids that come from the garbage producers, right, as they deal with food waste and scrap. So it'll be really exciting. And hopefully, if in the next October we can go to a WEFTech in Chicago, we can even begin looking at the types of technologies that we would be considering for solids handling. And then we also have continued work on the dam safety project. We are working on a district-wide facilities planning. You got the piece of the facilities planning for the Research and Innovation Center to Ripple, so we'll be continuing to bring more on that. We're looking at the needs at the Tualatin River Farm for our natural systems group, as well as the needs in the admin building complex for the long run and other facilities.
So you know you will have been successful when sometime in 2021, I remember, I say Ripple, and I'll remember what it means or stands for. I'm not there yet.
Research, innovation, labs, and people.
Aha.
Yeah.
She's laying the foundation, folks.
Yeah. So, but there's just tons of projects that you'll all see during the capital programs. And right now, we're in the middle of our succession planning and looking at some shifts and things that are in people's portfolios. And but the team's doing really good.
Cool. So if I look over at 2021, we've got the eval, status, eco. Okay, it doesn't look like Q1 has any surprises, nor Q2. Okay, it looks like everything feels somewhat familiar for 2021. And when we move to the new normal conversation, there's some aspects of your business that I'd like us to come back to as well.
Chair, the one thing I do want to point out, and we spoke about this a little bit, it is pretty much so how it has typically been in terms of this rhythm that we go through. The one piece that we have put in there is this idea that Diane mentioned, we meet with you to talk about performance excellence and our roadmaps at a specific piece. And we're trying to look at late March or early April and getting on that so that we actually have time with you 3 times a year on kind of training-related topics. So that's the one.
Cool. Commissioners, any questions or comments for CWS? Thank you. Okay, well, so the new normal discussion. Wow, what a year it's been. I think we've come far, and I have found it important to take credit for how nimble and flexible we've all been, how we've been as a board, and how the agencies have been throughout this year. And while continuing to serve our customers in these challenging times, we never, with the exception of the wildfires, right, with hazardous smoke, we were always serving our customers, right? And our 2 sister counties, I don't think that their buildings are open yet. So we adjusted, but we didn't miss a stride. And I think that's really exemplary, and I hope you feel good about it. But here we are, now I feel like I've adjusted versus the great uncertainty. You know, when I think back to March, we were like, what's coming? What might happen? Will our health system fail? A lot of great adjustments. And we're really hitting our stride. I want to make sure, for me at least, that I remain mindful of what we were talking about earlier, that we've got many in the organization that still have to do the care and feeding of our community during this pandemic, all the way through having a vaccine. I'm assuming that we will still have a vaccine and that it will be deployed community-wide, and that may take, a year to 2. And how do we get our heads around that? I'm also really pleased with how the agency has helped us as commissioners hold our meetings with Zoom, to have the kind of flexibility we have today for people to participate through these web connection meetings. And I appreciate, Commissioner Scouten, that you are here. Is there anything more that we should take stock or discuss or touch on as part of this new normal?
Just maybe to riff off of the chair just a little bit, I want to put out a salute to Kevin Moss. I think, he has really been a great addition, and he's really been our board clerk for the 21st century, being very facile and being able to make things work for us, and be able to come up with answers and solutions very, very quickly. He's been a whiz. So thank you, Kevin, for your great work. I think it's really made this go smoother for all of us. So I want to thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Scouten.
I'd also like to add that, getting used to the new platforms that we use to communicate wasn't easy in the beginning, but I found that the combination of meeting in person and having flexibility with Zoom has allowed me as an individual to probably add to my workload instead of making it smaller. It's when there's not transportation time in between meetings, when there's you can just accomplish a lot more. And so while I respect and really enjoy the in-person time that we have together here and in other meetings, as I look to the future, I'm hoping that we continue with a nice blend of Zoom or that type of platform as well as in person, because I think in many situations it makes it a lot easier to get work done. So, and I'm thinking even about our external boards and how, maybe we meet in person quarterly, but we have our other off meetings by Zoom. So I'm looking forward to a hybrid future.
Yeah. Thoughts?
I agree with what Pam was saying. I think that it'll be a real hybrid. I can see Dick right now better than I can see a lot of folks when I'm on the Zoom meetings. It's because we flash this up, and when I've been at home or in the office and I've come into these Zooms, I can't see people here. You're a bunch of little specks, and this is a better format, maybe the Zoom, and I think that's what was being said by our CEO earlier when she was interviewing. She said, well, why can't we put everybody on Zoom so we can see people?
So Tanya, would you like to speak to that?
Yes, Chair Harrington, Commissioners. So ITS is putting some proposals. I was told earlier I should have them early next week, looking at additional cameras in this space. The reality is we will be in this meeting format for at least the next 18 to 24 months. And Commissioners, what you were touching on is what COVID has really opened up and challenged our previous meeting formats too. And so we may have a conversation in the future. What does the board want to continue that dual place? And so from a space of transparency for our community, for community members to be able to view facial reactions, it's also important for community, just as it is for each of us in this room. So more information coming forward. The goal is to have this completed by the end of the year so that we can use CRF funds for this expenditure.
One of the downsides for me in dealing with being here and Zooming is that you don't see who's participating like we do when there's people in the audience. I don't know, how we can address that, especially with YouTube. You're not going to see the people on YouTube, and I think that's a miss for me because I don't know who my audience is. So if there's a way to look at that, it would be helpful. Even if it's, when you're holding your regular meetings on Zoom, you've got your participant list. So you can see who's there. And I don't know about you, but I'm frequently saying, now who's at this phone number, please? So you know who's in your meetings.
Well, I have to say, I know Commissioner Willie and I went and attended by Zoom a West Side Trails briefing and overview and presentation yesterday. And I obviously can't speak for him, but I thought that the presentations were all very good. And it was really a wonderful, compelling meeting and covered a lot of trail projects in a nice, crisp way. And people are getting smarter and more sophisticated about how they can make presentations via Zoom. And it was a good meeting. So that's I guess a little bit of the new normal that was really a plus. And it didn't involve any travel by any of us. So that is obviously, and like today, I'm kind of in the throes of getting packed and getting ready for an early flight tomorrow morning. It was kind of nice a couple of times to be able, frankly, to shut the video off so I could spare you the sort of disarray in my living room at the moment. So thank you.
Well, none of us know. We've heard the national predictions about what this fall-winter season could bring with regard to sickness, which is one of the reasons why I have spent some time on planning so that we have a good handle of what might be before us in the coming months. Because who knows, we could have some great icy weather or a snowstorm, or we could have some variation of the flu. So, but I think we're pretty well positioned. I'm going into that unknown, feeling pretty darn good. All of us live in places that have good power grids as well. So if some storm happens, I think we'll all still be able to communicate in some way, or at least reach out to one another. So I don't know, I just feel less stressed about it than in the prior months. So I know I'm not called into as many communication meetings. That was a big learning for me this year, back in March and April, that the mayors wanted to meet every single day for a while because the pace by which new information was coming at us was so great. Similarly with state legislators, I hadn't anticipated the degree to which they wanted and needed to feel connected at the local level. And that took me a few weeks to really get my head around. And it was like, well, why don't they know this stuff, right? It's all online. But, recognizing the absorption rate of how much new information was coming at us as well. So I think we're heading into, well, we're right now in a mini change with the new school metrics, and our school board members are still trying to make that adjustment, and our public health team and I have all offered our resources to the superintendents to help ensure that their boards are equipped, but figuring out a little bit more about their structure and what they're going to need from us. But I know that I'm hoping that they'll be able to transition to in-classroom learning sometime in the first half of next year, hopefully. Who knows? They might not be able to do it until the start of the next academic year, but I think we'll have some adjustments there. We spent a bunch of time talking about childcare and helping where we could to get access there. So onward, how we go. Any thoughts or concerns remaining that any of you have on 2021?
Well, I think I'd like to talk a little bit when I see new normal discussions. I think about our new leadership with Tanya, with the general counsel replacement. I think that we're going to see some new normal there too, in terms of organizational structure, in terms of how we do business. And I'm anticipating that we have high levels of communication. I'm not worried about any of that, but I think there will be a new normal within the county as we move forward. But this is something that we've, as a group, as a team, have been working on for several years now. So, I think about
Just two.
Just two, it seems like.
Feels like several.
But today I was reflecting on the fact that we've got Latricia here, we've got Tanya here, we've got Elizabeth here. There are people that were not in the picture when we first started. One thing that wasn't mentioned, I know it wasn't this last year, but the GR team and the way that they're functioning, and they're functioning at such a high level. So there's been a tremendous amount of change. So we've been existing in a new normal that is not COVID related as well. So I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, good point. Which reminds me, in our roundtable discussion in February, we have in there, if I go to that page, CAO conversation time.
Good.
So we can come back to that. CAO what? Conversation time. I know I sound very muffled. I saw a headline on CNN over lunch that talked about how to improve your speech effectiveness while wearing a mask. I need to look at that and look into that.
Speak slowly and clearly.
Sorry to anybody who reads lips these days, right?
I need to enunciate a little more clearly, so.
I think for me, the new normal, obviously, you think about meetings that we have historically canceled because of snow or something like that. And we won't have to necessarily deal with that now. We'll just all Zoom in. But for me, I'm interested in the facility study because I also believe that we are going to be able to live with less space when we're done with, when we get, well, as we go through the Zoom life of meetings, it's like Pam said, we no longer have to go to point A to point B to point C and spend a couple hours of our day on the road running to meetings. We just queue them up immediately. And so I think our facility study is going to reflect some of that same benefits. That's what I'm hoping.
It's interesting because I see that point, but there's also the point of maintaining our physical distance, which I think will carry through for a while. You know, I don't know about, this is purely conjecture on my part, but I certainly see a lot less colds. I see a lot less of the other issues that were transmittable type diseases as well. And, you know, if we've learned anything about being healthy, we've learned that physical distancing, washing our hands, you know, all those things help us in ways that aren't just COVID related.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it will be interesting, you know, after I left Intel, they did go through a building assessment and remodeled, you know, various Jones Farm and then Ron Laraker floors so that there were more huddle spaces and more of the workforce that telecommuted or worked multiple sites, so you didn't have an assigned office. There were these pods of offices and also more open. I mean, many of the floors are still cubicle farms, but there were some lower level cubicles as well. So you know, it's an opportunity for our staff to look into that, and our CAO to look at talent management and, you know, what kind of environment we need to have, so. Okay, well, is there anything about 2021 that people are concerned about? About what possible curveballs they've been thinking about? No, none? Okay. Well, I'm going to go do a selfish thing and go grab my cookie while you all segue into the next conversation. Oh, no, I don't trust
I would
you.
trust.
I'll get
I
it.
would not trust.
Elizabeth will go get it. Thank you, Elizabeth.
You trust Elizabeth?
So, onboarding of a new colleague. So, Nafisa Fai, will be our new colleague. Uh, there have been many phone conversations that different board members have had with her with certainty since election night. I know she's really excited. Commissioner Scouten, do you have something you'd like to share?
No, I don't have anything new from what I said this morning. I've had a couple of brief conversations with her, and she knows that I'm going to be on vacation for a couple of weeks. I know she's taking a little bit of time off too, which is certainly understandable. She's had, and her opponents have had a very long campaign season that stretched well over a year. So she knows I'll be coming back. And I she and I look forward to meeting, and I'd be happy to provide her a little bit of a tour and introduction and show her the office. And I've started to clear out some stuff already out of my office, and we'll continue to do that when I come back. I look forward to really working closely with her and getting her off to as good a start as I can help make that possible. She's going to be a great new addition to the board, I think.
What I'd like to do is maybe reflect a little bit on our experience coming on board and what I would hope might happen that happened well for me or not so well for me. So I just wrote down one thing would be if Nafisa has a point person in HR that she talks to for setting up all of her different pieces. I think that's really helpful. I stumbled around a bit. Angie was,
Benefit enrollment especially.
yes, exactly. Angie was a great help for me. I'm not sure where Angie is in relationship to her assignments right now, but she helped me with ordering the computer, ordering the phone, doing those types of things, and that was critical. But at the same time, I think about my selections for equipment, and I might choose differently if I were doing it today. So it's, and that's nobody's fault other than just being in the job for a while and finding out what might work better than other types of.
Let's talk about that for just a second. So like you, she's an Apple user. You're all Apple users, aren't you? I'm not. I wouldn't go with Sprint, which is the county's preferred provider. She's used to having a MacBook or Mac Air or one of those things, but I don't think we support that as a platform.
No, you don't, because I have one of those and I had to go to an iPad.
And I have a Surface. It's worked fine, but I might, if I had to do it over, I might choose an iPad. But I've also watched Commissioner Willie have trouble with some of the different platforms with the Mac. So it's that type of discussion that I think would benefit her.
When you use an iPad, is it a native application, like Outlook native, or is it through a browser?
I don't know. I can, so a couple of the issues that I had, one is this does not like Teams. So I had to have a little assistance in getting this to accept a Teams format. But now that I've done that, it works fine. The other is I have my own domain that I pay for and is on this. So I actually have 4 different email areas. And so getting all those to work in sync. But again, our IT department was really great on that. So I'm a big fan of the iPad. It's just, it's functional. I hardly ever use my other computer at all anymore.
I end up with my work iPad, my work Surface, my WA personal computer, and then my home Apple computer. So, I'm on a lot of different systems. But also, it's necessary, I think, to separate those systems. So it helps me keep that separation in place. So, but I think just having this type of discussion with her would be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember sitting in the conference room with Angie, and I think the two of us were together, and she was saying, well, what do you want? And I'm like, well, I don't
What's
know.
available?
Yeah, I don't know.
I know.
What-
You don't
what-
just open it up that
What
way.
what is your advice for what I want?
Yeah.
So I would encourage that. I would also, and still, just having a cheat sheet of, and Angie did provide us this early on, a cheat sheet of who does what, so that you know who to call. You've got your phone numbers, and you've got, all those important pieces, including your HR contact and probably cappuccino corner, or whatever. But
I didn't get that.
well, I think we got a list from Angie. Maybe you didn't get it, but the point is that's the type of stuff that's helpful. And it's when you're at home, and she's going to be at home more than we were. We were in here a lot more when we first started. She's going to be at home and go, oh, who do I call? And you can't just open the door and say, hey, Angie, who do I call for this? So I think
She will have a policy assistant, so she'll have an Alex.
So that's great. And I think but that person's going to be new too.
Yeah.
So, and there's, I suspect I'm hoping that person will work with Alex, will work with the other people on staff to make sure that they're supporting, that they're learning quickly. Alex learned quickly.
A couple of things that I remember the three of us grousing about is how long it took to get the phone to do its updates when we got a new work phone,
Yep.
and the computers set up on the different applications that were needed. And that seemed like days, spread over a week or two, but it really impacts a new commissioner coming online because you're trying to read packets, right, for those first few meetings at the same time.
And I think even more importantly for Nafisa than for me is to have that IT contact, because she's going to be at home going, I don't know, this isn't working. So I still go on Zoom on a different computer than I use Teams on my Surface, and I use my PC for Zoom because it works better there. So.
Okay, so I think technically, equipment-wise, it's important to ask, are you an Apple user or PC user? What do you use at work, Roy?
Well, I use Apple. Actually, I've gone to Apple here on my phone. You guys are all looking at those. I'm looking at the agenda here.
Yeah.
So you see, it's nice and easy to control. We use PCs at work. I mean, it's needed computing power. But you don't see in front of me. I've got a bank of screens. I have a whole bunch of screens. So let you out.
Microphone,
Pardon me?
Mike.
Oh. It's going out. I thought it was just in here.
No, but they're recording it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It
Yeah.
does go on YouTube.
What, yeah, real quickly, what I said is I use this is a new iPhone 12, and so I can look at all the packets here. At work, we use PCs because of the power of them, and I have a bank of screens, so I've got three. Each one of them's a big curved screen that I have at work, so I can put multiple things up and look, so it's a lot better than here by far. But yeah, it's fine. It's been so long. When I first got here, it was, okay, which building is it? And I know it's on the fourth floor. It was in that building. And
You had big, heavy books, notebooks.
and we always had books, 1 to 2 of them about this big, and said, well, good luck, young man. I was young.
Another thing is getting your home office set up. And it was Catherine who reminded me that I could get a printer at home from the county, and that has,
During the pandemic.
yeah, that has really helped for, if I print something out and I write on it and I use it for my note-taking process, that's been extremely helpful. Kathy Jacoby and I talked today about hotspots because I'm having trouble with internet at home. So there are ways that I wasn't thinking about to ease the COVID-related issues that we're facing right now, having to Zoom all the time. So, those are the types of things I would encourage us to make sure she knows about.
Well, another really valuable meeting that Alan and I had probably in December was good to have before January, before I was sworn in, was the legal briefing. And I still have the notebook that he gave me that had the public meeting laws. So that is a really pivotal meeting for her before she starts and can reflect on it. And so it'll be really great to get that appointment set up between Alan and Nafisa. Alan, you do a really good job there in helping new commissioners feel very confident and comfortable with you and your team and how to be a good commissioner.
Happy to do that with Nafisa, Commissioner Nafisa.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The other piece is we talked about this briefly the other day, the emergency protocols and making sure those are up to date, making sure that we know what our role is in an emergency situation.
Yep.
I have something a little bit more basic.
Yeah.
What's the accurate pronunciation of her last name? I thought it was Nafisa Fee. It is Phi, huh? Okay.
Yep.
That's kind of important.
Yep. Commissioner Fye.
Let's see. So we'll go through next month and talk about committee assignments and make sure we're making room for a new colleague. Is there anything about, so I sent Nafisa an email, I think this morning, because last night I remembered that the AOC conference has that new commissioner orientation that I wasn't able to go in because of being exhausted from my runoff in 2018, but you two did.
Yes.
So I told her about it, and I told her that you two went to it, and I told her about how I went through county college, but it's a real intensive time commitment. So in case there's anything, I don't know, pull back your 2019 calendars and see if there are some other ramp-up activities.
For me, and this was a transition just basically all the way through 19, was understanding committees and boards that I sit on, what's the role, what are they about. Now mine was, Salmon Trail was one of them. I had no idea what we were talking about and got fed into that.
I'm laughing at you, that's funny.
And I still struggle with all this forestry stuff. And so just it's a steep learning curve that Nafisa, I believe, will have in her first year. And if we could somehow have someone kind of go alongside of her and help her out, prepare her in advance for the meetings, those kinds of things. I mean, that's what we hired Alex to do, and he's been very helpful in doing that, but it's a continuing thing. I mean, I just don't like to go into a meeting where I look at the agenda and I think, oh, probably should have done my homework as I basically walk in the room or on Zoom, and I look at the agenda and go, uh-oh, I don't think I'm ready. Or when I see my name on the agenda and it says, yeah, he's going to talk about this, and I go, oh, okay.
Yes, I understand those moments.
And so anything, I guess, that we could do to help get her up to speed as quickly as possible on those assignments, that would be great.
I think one of the advantages that I had coming in as a new commissioner was that I knew a lot of staff people from my work at WEA. So I knew Stephen Roberts, I knew Chris Defaba, I knew Comey. There are people that I could go to and say, I don't understand this, or who do I talk to? And that in the early stages was really beneficial to me. And I'm not certain that she has that sort of contact base. So maybe even having a department go-to person
Well,
would be
I
helpful.
didn't have it, but the departments are incentivized to onboard new commissioners. And Tanya is here, and Tanya's approach is very different than Bob Davis's. So I have every confidence that Tanya is listening to our conversation and will have some recommendations to help.
And you know, as all 5 of us know, the staff will do anything to help you out. It's just been, it's always the case. I so appreciate that. But it's helpful to know who to go to, you know, in the first place. So, and you know, I would ask Dick or I would ask Roy if I wasn't sure, you know, who to go to. But I think that's really helpful as well.
And also understanding systems. You know, we didn't used to have the constituent report. And I came in and I was skeptical about having somebody else handle my constituent emails. It's like, I've been doing my own for 12 years. Why would I want somebody else to get their paws on it first? But, you know, I said, hey, I'm open-minded. Let's try it out and see how it works. And I feel really good about it because the constituent gets the most technically accurate information in a timely fashion. And occasionally if somebody sends it to me directly and I feel like, oh, I can answer this, then I'll answer it. Otherwise, I get it into the system, and even when they get answers from staff, if there's something else I want to comment on, I go right ahead and do that. So it's worked really well, I think. But the weekly reports is something that didn't come about until COVID. And I think that's been really helpful too, as opposed to getting, you know, ad hoc. One day I'd all of a sudden get a bunch because staff finally got to it. And it's like, oh, how do I see my real work beyond all that?
I think the chair raised a good point about the constituency services. When I first started, I did a lot of it myself. I mean, I took the initiative. I would just reach out to people and write my own responses. But I think over time, the workload has really increased. And I think that for the reasons that the chair already outlined, this is a better system. And we always have the opportunity to edit, to change, to put some input into some things that need some special treatment. But it just isn't possible. It isn't possible today as it was possible 20 years ago. It's just not possible, I think, to handle all the constituency services without really the staff doing the bulk of it, with us kind of having a sort of an oversight or overview of what's going on. And I have to echo it's been such a pleasure. The staff has always been so supportive over the years. People have come and gone, but there's been a high quality of staff support. And I can't think and thank enough the work that Barbara Hedmonic and Angelita and Anna do for us, and Janet has been terrific. So.
You know, one place where I think Nafisa benefits is she's been on CWAC. So I think about where I've felt over the years that I needed to learn more was about my role at Clean Water Services, and I think she'll have a little bit lower ramp-up type of time. So that's good. So, but I don't think we can assume she knows everything.
From our own commissioner workload, we have tools that help us with some forward visibility into how things work. One thing that Nafisa will need to be acquainted with is the availability of the packets. We sort of know what the cycle is now. So making sure she knows that so that going into her first meeting, she doesn't feel cold. I remember on the Metro Council, one of my colleagues resigned in October and we needed to appoint someone, and we did that. And so the day that we swore in my colleague Carlotta Collette in February was a Thursday, swore in at the beginning of the meeting, and then we had an action item on the Columbia River crossing.
Jeez. Welcome, Carlotta.
Yes, 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 it was a bit of a trial by fire on that one, but we helped her get through that one just fine, but yeah, we'll have to make sure we don't stack up the first agenda with some big humongous policy decision. Is there anything else that you think, any systems we might take for granted that?
Well, I'm going to, I may be out of line by bringing this up, but I'm going to take a chance here. I think that the four of us that are moving forward into next year, probably with the exception of Jerry, don't have small children at home, and you've got a grandchild at home, but
And his circumstance will be changing
Yes.
after.
Yeah, before
And I just think, I think we need to take a deep breath a little bit, because as we meet by Zoom and in different environments, her life is different than our life. And I just want to respect that and recognize that I may have a cat that walks across my computer, but I don't have a
Different set of coworkers.
1-year-old, yeah, so, and two others. So it's, and I really have a great deal of respect for her for taking this on with the issues of family life as well. So Tanya is raising her hand.
So I just want to make a comment and share a story. So I recently, within the last couple of weeks, was on a Zoom call with community members. And unfortunately, I was distracted because my daughter was interrupting. And let's just say from a professional standpoint, it doesn't feel like it's your best moment. However, I received an email from a community member who's a mother of 5 children and is working on her master's degree, and said, "Thank you for being an inspiration." So I think if we can encourage her, there's some modeling that goes, and you're giving others hope that they can balance it. So it was a very touching email, and I think we just need to grant each other grace in these moments, whether it's a cat, a dog, a kid, a spouse, whomever that is. We're now opening our doors in ways to others that we haven't before.
Yes, absolutely. So, and our degree of flexibility and understanding, I think, will be appreciated as we move forward, as well as all the constituents. But it is a new normal.
Speaking of grace, I've told you all the story about the rocking washing machine, haven't I?
Oh my God, that was so funny. Was that a board meeting? Or
No,
a-
that was an AOC District 8
That's
meeting.
right. Oh, that was the
I don't know
funniest
if
thing.
you were on that call. So I called in from my quote-unquote home office, which is the equipment room in our house. We got a new table, so that's where I got things set up. It's on the 3rd floor of the 3-story house. And there's...
Maybe I should tell the story.
Yeah. We're sitting in the meeting, and then
Catherine Harrington's eyes got like this, and I'm watching her face, and she said, we're having an earthquake. We're having an earthquake.
Machine
The whole
quake.
rest of the whole, the Hollywood squares, we all looked at like, what? What is she talking about? And honestly, the panic was very real on her face.
oh, yes.
And it was such a real experience that I kept thinking, can earthquakes only be like in a couple blocks? I mean, is she having an earthquake and I'm not, and we
Like,
live within a mile?
This is real.
And then it took her about another half a second to say, oh, I think my washing machine's out of balance. It was great, and it was such a human moment, but
I
and
was so embarrassed.
you could see everything in front of her moving, and so you knew something was going on, but that was priceless. That
I
was
couldn't
priceless.
understand why everybody else was so calm. And I'm holding on to the table, and of course it's shaking. And with the equipment racks, everything's rattling.
Well,
And
and
it
in all
stopped.
fairness, I think the other part of the story is that you had just had these,
We'd just gotten the washer and dryer, brand new, newfangled, high-speed, delivered like 2 days before.
and there was something wrong with the way it was installed.
Yes. So that was my 2021 pandemic adjustment story. So,
It was priceless. It's better than all the barking dog stories and everything else that everybody has.
well, let's hope that's the only such story of my career.
But I do think it's important for us just to recognize that bringing in a new person to this group, we're going to have our own time to form up again as a group, and that's what happens when you lose a very valuable member and gain a new one. So there'll be different relationships and different communication styles and all sorts of things for a bit.
Yeah, and during the age of COVID too, because it's not like you can just get together in one another's offices anymore. Well, I guess, yeah, we can, wearing masks.
Yeah.
So, anyway, anything else for today?
Make sure she knows where to park.
And where to find the bathroom, where the cappuccino corner is, and bathroom, and where to get coffee, and all that good stuff.
Where the secret bathroom is.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
actually, that is a question about the parking part. I mean, when does the parking situation go back to the old normal, or are we in a new normal as far as parking is concerned?
Well, my temporary parking pass says November 15th. So I figured they'll give us an update on the roof project no later than the 14th.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think anybody pays any attention to people parking back there anyway.
I
You know, I know that I spoke with Catherine about this earlier, and I recognize that Nafisa probably wants to have some time to recuperate and, get her feet on the ground. At the same time, I think it would be, what we were offered, both Commissioner Willie and myself, was a seat at the table for 7 months. And if she would like to come, I think we should, I would propose that she be welcome to come and sit at the table if that's something she wants to do. I'd rather have it be her decision, not necessarily us saying that, that she can't. What are your thoughts about that?
I'm uncomfortable about that because she's not a sworn-in commissioner. That would then open her up to all kinds of public records requests. There could be liabilities there. And really, she needs the freedom and flexibility. I think I knew you were at the table from a meeting that I attended in October of 2018. Once again, I was offered nothing. So it's.
And that was I just know that I benefited. I understand what your concerns are. I was coming to the meetings and sitting in the audience. That's why I think they offered me a seat at the table, and then Jerry
Well,
started
we had
after I
been
did.
elected in May, though, and
Right.
Yeah,
didn't come in until November, so
yeah,
Yeah.
much more in the same time frame as Nafisa is right now.
yeah. And there aren't that many meetings, I suspect, between now and the end of the year. But I'm just, and I will reach out to her and say I'll help in any way. It was helpful for me, but it was a long time.
I'd be hopeful that she would attend one meeting, sitting in the audience if she has to.
Well, she has knows things on Zoom, and there's YouTube broadcasts of our meetings and whatnot, so she's not.
I think it has a little different
Totally.
feel if you're physically present, but whatever, yeah, she just needs to see how the whole process works through the,
And get used to the microphone.
yeah, and turn it on.
It'll give
Hi,
us
Dick.
one more person to remind.
Yeah, yeah. I think the absolute critical thing, from my standpoint, is that meeting with Alan, and then helping her be set up, if, with technology as quickly as possible. And remember, December is only a 3-week month. Right? December 18th, Friday, December 18th. So
So does she, I can't
she
believe
gets sworn in the first Tuesday of January according to the county charter.
is that what it is? Okay. I couldn't remember what day we were sworn in.
Yep. So we're already talking about the logistics of that because she might want to be sworn in by the Attorney General. And so we might end up having to do a private swearing in with the whole notary business and then the public one. So we'll have to see. Anything else in that regard? Alan or Angie or anything? Okay.
Alan keeps popping up like a mole on Caddyshack.
Let's whack 'em.
Sorry, Alan, but there we go.
Whack-a-mole, there you go.
I hope that doesn't hurt to laugh, Alan.
So Chair, I know we were talking about welcoming your new colleague, but if any of you do have issues or want to discuss your technology, just let me know. And then I can connect you with someone from IT who can help either upgrade items or work through that. Commissioner Treese, I'm glad Kathy reached out to you. I just noticed you were having some connection issues, so hotspot's a solution.
Thank
Any
you.
issues that you're having, if you can say what the issue is, then our team can come up with some potential solutions.
Well, and I think that I wasn't thinking that you could help me with my home issues, but the reality is that, yes, whether it's the printer or the hotspot, and I really do appreciate it, so thank you.
And that is a good reminder for me as well, because I've been spending so many hours in the different electronic meetings that my eyes have done some weird things. And all I can tell you is it's gotten weird. And I tried taking my glasses off, I tried pushing away back from the desk, and it's like it's something that just has to settle out. I don't know what it is, so I need to figure that out, because it's not like my vision has changed. I'm not noticing that. It's just, maybe I've tried to make sure I'm not too close to the screen or whatnot, but it's just different, so. All righty. Well, anything else for the good of the order today? A lot of good conversation. Thank you very much. And
Yep,
was
good
it
discussion.
was it helpful to get the information in the packet ahead of time?
Absolutely,
Okay. Okay. Then
Yeah,
I'll make
thank you.
sure to
absolutely.
do that for December as well.
Good trip, Dick.
Yes. Have a wonderful vacation, Dick. Aloha.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.